Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel.
Jade wins.
It is finally here. It took me a while. I've been doing a lot of editing. I've also started a new job, which is why I've been MIA for about a month. But it's finally here. It is the final video, at least for this portion of Jade, before we get into the upgrade, which will be later on, probably in about a month or two. At the end of this video is also going to be a segment of the shoot day and basically just my day with Nerd.0, along with some interviews. That way you also get to meet some of the wonderful folks who comprise Nerd.0. It was such a fulfilling experience from start to finish, and it was going on at a time when I was dealing with unemployment. That's how I've been able to get out more videos than I usually would, because I didn't have a job. After 11 and a half years, got laid off. Did not see that coming. I don't think anybody ever plans to be laid off. It happens or it doesn't. Unfortunately, that is life. But one of the things that really kept me going was just being involved in the cosplay community, and finding Nerd.0 during this time really helped to keep me going. When I was younger and I would get met with issues and things of that nature, I didn't really know how to handle it. I didn't know where to turn, and I didn't know how to call upon my community. So I turned to things like partying and drinking and all of that, because it was the only time that I felt any sort of good, but it wasn't productive and it didn't help me in the long run. It felt good in the moment, but damaging for the greater course of my life. But this time I called upon my community, and it lifted me in ways for which I could not be prepared, and has allowed me to move forward with my life in a much more productive way, to utilize my skills to make something beautiful, and to just go and put the play and cosplay with my friends. All the feels, all of them, don't really have the words to properly express what it meant to me and how much it really helped at a very difficult point in my life. So I'm not going to have an outro to this video. This is the only time you will see my face, other than the small portion at the beginning, which is the make portion, in which I'll cover some of the details of constructing Jade's dress. I don't really go into the accessories because they're not amazing, and we will go into them in a lot more detail and precision in the upgrade video. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and let it roll. A major thank you to my patrons over on Patreon, Ko, Ryeale, and Paula. I truly appreciate all of your support. And to anybody just liking, commenting, and subscribing, I appreciate you too. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy.
Pro tip: use a Ziploc bag to keep your pattern pieces together and protected from the elements. Since I did a terrible job of explaining this during the mock-up, I'm going to do a better job now. First, I'm going to start by cutting my decorative edge pieces and adding a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Thanks for the note, girl. I'll secure the decorative edge to the dress with a zigzag stitch and then cover that with a gold bias tape. The outermost edge will also get a zigzag stitch, and later I plan to go in and add a lining which should cover the stitches all together, but for the time being it's a high pile velvet, so you won't really see the stitches. For the decorative edge, I'm using a fusible bias tape that I got off of Amazon, and to make sure I like the placement and it's aligning properly, I'm using a bit of parchment paper. Right now I'm using my steam iron, but really what I need is my craft iron because it's steamless, and that will make for better adhesion. When I go back in to upgrade the design, I'll be sure to sew it down, that way it'll be waterproof and I won't lose the detailed edge. Alright, so we've got the back panel pieces together. Originally I was going to do this as just one panel, but when I was laying it out to cut it, my brain was not braining. So I just modified a pattern that I had from Mood Fabrics. They have an entire free pattern section. I highly recommend it. It's great if you are a beginner. You will need a printer, but totally worth it. Or you could at least take a look at the patterns, see if you can copy them in some other way. It's a lot of work, but then again, so is printing out all the pages and then taping them together and then cutting them out. So probably about the same amount of work. It's free, do what you want with it. While I was looking at the design for Jade, I realized that there is a corset back on this. So It doesn't matter anyway. And this is not a competition piece, this is just something for me. It's to feed my inner child. And sometimes you feed your inner child McDonald's just to make sure that they're happy and they're fed, and sometimes you focus on a more finely tuned meal. This is the most delicious McDonald's I've ever had. I'm going to be using some pleather I already had in stock. I have been snacking on this remnant since 2018 and it has served me well. Going to kind of be zooming this, so I'm just cutting out the measurements that I took from the back panel and using my steam iron to iron the back side so that way I get out all those wrinkles. You can iron the top side, but I recommend using parchment paper so that way you don't ruin the finish. This is a 4-panel corset, so I'm going to be cutting these panels into smaller sections and then sewing them together. And then I'm going to be adding a facing to make sure we have a nice finished edge. Attaching the facings now, and I am using a heavy-duty needle and just regular poly thread. This won't be getting any boning, it's primarily decorative, but it does give a nice little shape to the front of the dress. Now I'm going to be pressing the facings open using some parchment paper and my steam iron. I have it on a medium-high setting and I'm using the parchment paper to protect the surface. It is pleather, therefore plastic, so you want to make sure that you iron it flat and try to hold it down. And then once it's cool, you can move your hand, you can move it away and it should remain flat. You can also use clips or pins to keep it down. I recommend clips, not pins, because it does not heal. For the beginners in the room, that means you will see the holes later. There are a myriad of other options that would be a lot better to paint this with. However, this is what I have, so this is what we're using. Acrylic brown and black paint that I just kind of blended together, and now I'm using a sponge brush to apply it to the pleather panels. Then I'm going to be using some paper towel to blot it a little bit. That'll pull up some of the color and give us a little variation in tone in our paint job. Now that the first layer has dried, I'm going to go back in with just a little bit of brown paint and just do a single coat before I use a paper towel to blot it out again and give us a little more variation. And it's on to installing the grommets. When it comes to grommet setting, I often hear people say that they are swinging very hard to really whack the crap out of them, but you really want precision and force. And both of those are important. So you don't need to be swinging your entire arm, you just want to make sure you're doing concentrated yet forceful taps to set your grommets. This was filmed well after the photo shoot, and the paint held up really well, all things considered. The gloves were made individually, and I left them that way, so it's a fingerless glove that goes to the wrist and then an arm sock. They're still independent. They worked out really nicely and held up well on the big day. The boots, on the other hand, are another story. While I did manage to get them to the shoot, and they look good like this, they're not properly finished, and they kept falling down constantly, so much so that I had to safety pin them to my dress to keep them up. They are a disaster. Do better than I did. I will definitely be addressing this in the upgrade. And with that, it's on to the main event.
Finish him. Fatality. Sub-Zero wins.
My name is Mark. Dominator.cuz on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
How long have you been doing cosplay?
Been doing it for 5 years now.
Awesome. What does it mean to be with Nerd.0? What's that experience like for you?
Just the joy of meeting new people like me, having a safe place to do what we do.
Can I say it? Just once?
Only if you wish to suffer.
Get over here!
Hi, I'm He, aka Windows Cosplay on IG and TikTok.
Two-time award-winning cosplayer, she might add.
Yes, it was at an anime social, and then for Halloween, I won.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
How long have you been cosplaying?
Literally just since Nerd.0 started, so like 2021. But Jamal has always
beautiful.
said that I've been doing it for years because I love Halloween, so I've always dressed up.
And what has it meant to be in Nerd.0? What is the experience like for you?
Oh God, I'm gonna cry. Me and Jamal go all the way back to high school. I'm a domestic violence survivor, and I had literally just gotten out of it in COVID. And Jamal forced me into this group, and it's saved me. It's been a very healing experience. So that's what it means to me. Everything. You see what he made me do?
And after a successful day's shoot, the team took their wigs off and we headed over to Optimist Hall for lunch.
Brand new man, 90. You a shit, taco, we got drunk for that. Fight, bro, you done for that.
Get over here!
Know me in the mood sign, girl, straight up. Glock 19 in the blue flying, girl.
Hey, I'm Jamal Purvis, aka 6 That's on every social media handle.
How long have you been cosplaying, man?
I've been cosplaying for about 4 years now. Yes, it's been almost exactly 4 years since I started cosplaying.
So what inspired you to start Nerd.0?
Nerd.0, my baby. Like I said, I started cosplaying 4 years ago, but I've always been into cosplay and everything, but I didn't know anything about the cosplay community. So I was at work and I came downstairs and there was like a con going on. And I was like, what? I said, what is this? Is this heaven? I went in there and I asked people about what they were doing and they told me what cosplay was, and I was like, this is amazing. So I got into cosplay. I did it for the first time. I did it with my daughter, and then I was like, man, I really would love to have a community of people where we can like get together and just do stuff like this, not just at a con, but like every day. Just just find people like me. I'm gonna start a group. It started small. I had like 4 or 5 people would say, hey, let's get together, let's get nerds together, let's do cosplays together. And when I got them together, they like, well, let's make it bigger, because I mean, we see all these big giant groups out in Baltimore, New York. There's everyone here in Charlotte. Charlotte has so many amazing cosplayers. Why not just start a group where everyone can have just like positive vibes? We can come together, have a good time, and just like eat and just do stuff, like we did today. I'm all about positivity and bringing people together. So that was my main goal for Nerd.0. I really just want to bring people together. They try to push me to put my name out there more. Like, it's not about me. Nerd.0 has always been about us. So when I tell people about Nerd.0, I tell people about everybody, because Nerd.0 is supposed to be about everybody. So that's why I started.
That's beautiful, man. You're doing great work.
Thank you.